good.
Okay, so I want to start with this because this was something I noticed, I would say, over the last couple weeks getting to hang out with you
Mhm.
was when you were like when we were young and you would say like I think I can do something or like I can do this or I can do that. I've always seen you as like not like I'm sure you were insecure about things, but I've always seen you as like a pretty confident person compared to the average person. And I think that for a long time, when you would say something, it was more of like an I believe confidence where it was coming from a place of like you believe in yourself and you believe you can do these things. And now I feel like it's the same stay of like I can do this, I can do that. But I feel like something changed. And I was thinking about it a lot. And one of the what I think it is I think it went from the confidence doesn't come from a place of I believe. It comes from a place of I know,
Mm.
where I feel like you are a lot more like self-aware of your capabilities. And so the belief meets the self-awareness. And so you're saying that I can do this, I can do that comes from he's not saying it because he believes in himself. He's saying it because he knows he can do that thing. And he's very confident. And I believe that he can do that thing. And
Yeah.
so I say all of that to say that obviously I think a big part of that has been the last 4 or 5 years of your life and all of the things that you've done. And so, what I want to ask you is do you think all of that stuff you've gone through was the difference maker in our golf round?
Yeah, that's and it all comes to that. Which before I answer that question, one just no intro is what
We don't do
know.
intros on this
Your
podcast.
your
If you
your
want to
fan
read the
base doesn't even know
description,
who I am. That's fine. All right,
the description will have who you
I
are.
can. That's great. And you know
First
what? If you
Lieutenant
listen
John
to this,
Wiberg will be in the
go read the
description.
description. You can have my whole bio. That's
Mhm.
fine. Whatever. But yeah, I do think that all culminated right into that golf round. Uh, for those that don't know, I went out with Sam and our other cousin, and one would say they're much better golfers than me, but it came together in one round for me. It is interesting. I did understand what you meant though with kind of the confidence, and it's funny that you thought I was always a confident person because I think youngest of four siblings, three older
Mm.
sisters, younger one of the cousins. I kind of always felt like I was fighting up most of the time and trying to get people to think
Yeah,
I was better or more confident or whatever. Um, and then the more you live, the more you experience stuff, right? You go through
absolutely.
trials, you do hard things, you prove to yourself that
Mhm.
you are someone that can do that. So I do agree that at some point it kind of switched from like I believe I can go do that to yeah I know that I can do that. And yeah, that proved on the golf course. Kept a
Mm.
quiet head out there and got the job done.
Do
I
you
will say
find
that.
it, do you find like it to be like a meditative experience now? Adversity?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can ask my sisters, you can ask my dad that I was certainly hot headed as a child.
Mm.
I would fly off the handle quite a bit. Even in high school, I was. You've seen it on the golf course. I've
I've seen it.
lost it a couple times. In high school, I don't know if they have CYO where you're from, but it's the Catholic Youth Organization. They organize sports for either parishes or schools. And I was playing in the league in high school because I didn't play for my actual high school team, so I played for like my church.
Yeah.
And this is a Catholic organization, but let's
Yeah.
not. It was a good level of basketball. Like kids
Yeah.
were competitive in there, and I was ejected. A junior in high school, I got ejected from a Catholic youth organization game. I had some choice words, and I had to talk to my pastor, like my priest, to get reinstated into the league. I had to call him. It was so embarrassing. Um,
What did you
and
say? What did
so
you say? Do you want to share
to the
what you said?
priest or to the referee.
I would like to hear both. I'd like to hear the full story.
Well,
This is
I
the
was
format to share
frustrated or
these
losing,
stories.
and I wasn't saying so much at the priest as more of at the situation. Just a lot of words that started with F and
The priest
had
was the
three
ref.
following letters. No, 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 no. That would be wild.
That would have
But
been
and the ref he didn't take too much time. He I said like three
ET.
things, and you're out of there. And I don't think my dad's ever been more mad at me. He yelled at me, "Get out of the gym," and I was like, "All right, fine." And I left the gym, and then the ref was like, "No, he has to stay here. He has to be on the bench." And so my dad was like, "You have to take it back," and he was like, "Fine, get on the bench." And so that was an embarrassing moment. And then yeah, I couldn't play for like a game or two, I think, until I got reinstated. And so I had to like email our pastor, and I got a phone like meeting with him. And I was like, "Hey, Father Gary," like he's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Well, I just kind of
Devil
I
got to
flew
me,
off the
Father
handle a
Gary.
little bit. The devil got to me. He was like, "Well, what can you do about that?" And I was like, "Well, I could try to be calmer, you know." And he put me back in there. I don't think if he fully bought it. Um, but I think over those years I learned some stuff, and then I wouldn't say meditative, but I definitely know how to handle my emotions and kind of
Mhm.
look at the next shot a little better. Um,
What do you think changed for you? Like, where do you feel that big switch changed for you? Or do you think it was a gradual thing?
well, it was definitely a gradual thing, but you're a man of philosophy. I think I read a lot of that,
Mhm.
especially in college, and just kind of teaching your mind to let things happen as they happen, and you can only
Yeah,
control so much.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, and I probably stopped playing as competitive sports, after high school. That's probably the biggest thing, to be honest.
I
Yeah.
feel like when I stopped playing hockey and the immediate aftermath, I get invited to do like beer league and all that sort of thing. I find that I can't play sports uncompetitively.
Oh, it's impossible.
It's impossible. I can't
Yeah.
play a fun beer league because we're not going to play for fun. I really struggled when I started coaching like those youth camps of we have to do a shootout on a 5-year-old and I do have to like boost his confidence.
Yeah. And
And
and you miss it too. You miss the
oh,
competitive part.
you miss it so
Even
much.
I was a camp counselor before going into college. It was the summer before my freshman year of college, and I was a camp counselor for a sports camp. And so every week we would have the kids a different sport. We'd introduce to them football, basketball, hockey, whatever it was. And there were like five counselors, and every week we would draft teams, like the
Ooh.
counselors. And it was borderline a problem how competitive it got because we cared. Like the counselors cared who won. And these kids are 6 through 9, 10 years old. And the draft, like it's not in front of the kids. The week prior of like some pool time or whatever, we would
Yeah.
go sit down. And this would be like a counselor's only secret meeting where we're like, no, all right, football this week. Timmy's got good hands. All right, I'm taking Timmy one. And then you have the kids where it's like, crap, I got stuck with, Jason. And it's a balance of do I want, this kid's really good at football, but
Right.
he's an awful kid. I don't want to deal with him all week, but I'm probably going to win the football championship with him. Or
Absolutely.
do I take Eddie, who's just a liability physically, but he's going to be a good time. And so it was a real balance, and it got really competitive. And like you can't turn that switch off once you learn it.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's what you've described as college athletics. Just you turn the dial up to 100. You go, listen, he's probably going to end up in jail. There's a good
Yeah.
chance he crashes a car
Yeah.
somewhere on property of this campus and
Georgia football program.
unbelievable how they recruit kids who cannot drive.
Yeah.
But man, can they play football?
Or maybe can they drive? They're just better at driving because they go so fast.
Hey, it's sort of like running through the rain. The less time you're out there, the less time you have a chance to get into an accident.
Yeah.
The
But it's
less
that
time
same
he's on
cost
the road.
analysis. Yeah. Of, how good is this player versus how many
Unbelievable.
times is he going to get arrested at college?
And what is the like? As long as he survives the accident, like you
Yeah.
know, like we
Because
could
you
end up in
can't
a Rudy
be,
situation. Not a Rudy. Well,
you
remember the
can't,
Titans. We don't want
yeah,
that.
you can't be the third string left guard going 100 miles an hour. You're going to
No.
get cut.
Yeah,
You
that's a
got
good
to be
point.
a starting wide receiver. You
Yeah,
got to be some guy that matters on scholarship.
this is the tough part of recruiting is when because you need those third string people, you need that third string goalie, and you have to be like, listen, what we need from you is to just be an academic weapon. Like
Yeah.
we
You
need
can
you
raise
to
the team GPA.
we need you to keep GPA high because
Hmm.
a couple of our star players are not going to do that. And we
Hmm.
need you to be great on the team. We need you to be telling jokes in the locker room, and we'll make sure you get a bunch of cool gear, and you can tell people you played Division One. That is our
It's
offer
the
to you.
it's the famed position of, and I learned this my freshman year of college, is the glue guy.
Yeah.
And every group needs a glue guy. Every team, every family.
Mm,
And the glue guy isn't always shiny. It's not flashy, but it's vital, if not the most important position
absolutely.
in the group. Have you ever had the honor of being a glue guy for a group?
I got asked my senior year of high school. Actually, not okay. So my senior year of high school, I was not. We had new coaches that came in. I had a very old school coach my first 3 years, and it was a big reason I didn't play because he's like senior start. That's how it works. Oldest kid starts. And so I got to start like 2 games my freshman year because a kid showed up 10 minutes late to practice and he wanted to prove a point. And so I was used to prove that point. And he gave this whole speech about, he goes, Lander's right with all of you. And if you think you're going to start these games, he's there. And it's not just there. And I'd be like, hey, thanks, coach. That was great. And he goes, I'm just making a point, Lander. I need you to play 2 periods. And I'm like, oh, okay. And, and so I go out to play the game and I had a shutout going. I was like, is he going to pull me? And he was just like, Lander, you did a good job. And then the other coach saved me. He goes, yeah, can't wait to see you in the third. And I was like, let's go. Come sophomore year, we make it all the way to the Eastern Maine finals. And we're playing Mesolonsky. And a fun fact about Sam is Sam lost four straight championship hockey titles in youth hockey. I think it's a record, but
The Buffalo Bills of youth
I
hockey.
lost four straight state championship titles to the same team, of the same kids that we would
Uh-huh.
beat during the regular season every year, and I'd be like, "We got them this year. We got their number." And my youth coach had this rule that everybody plays, even though it's travel hockey. Everybody plays. So I would play the
Mhm.
first half or the second half of a game, and I gave up a grand total of 0 goals in 4 years, and I lost four state championship games. And so I get to this Eastern Maine final, and I'm like, I know these kids like the back of my hand. They've been running in my brain for almost over half a decade now. They're living in the back of my brain. I need
The
this game.
majority of your life.
Oh, a big part of my life was me just being a complete mental midget. Every time I wake up in a cold sweat thinking about these two brothers that
Yeah.
just score at will. And the game starts to go, and our starting goalie, he was very good, was not like he was bad or anything, but they got five on him in the first. And all of our families and our friends and the school is here. We've packed out the Alfond, and I'm looking at the coach, looking down the bench, and he didn't put me in until we got down by 7. And at that point, I'm like, well, the game's over, right? And after the game, he was just like, see you next year, Lander. And I was like, in my head, I had just played a really good summer showcase last summer. I was like, I'm going to prep hockey, which I didn't. But in my head, I was going, and I was like, I'm going to let this old dude have it. And I told him, I was just like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm a dog in these games. I don't know if you know that about me. And like I gave him the whole thing, and he didn't say anything. And he goes, bring that attitude next year, and we'll be fine. And I was like, okay. Showed up next year, brought that attitude, and we did okay. But going into my senior year, I'm like, we're going to have a team. And that coach who I had gone from hating to loving is gone. So I'm already a little pissed off, right? I'm like, these new guys are coming in. They're promising a lot of things. They seem cool, that sort of thing. And they did turn out to be good coaches. But my first game was against Bangor High. And Bangor's Class A, and we're Class B. And those are all the kids I played youth hockey with.
Mm.
All of them, all those kids. and the goalie that was playing for them was probably the like me and him were the two best goalies in the area. Outside of the college team, obviously those goalies were better than us, but we were the two best, and I want to prove that I'm the best, right? So I didn't have to call a priest about it, but I did have a moment in the game where the net got knocked off and a puck went in the net, but it wouldn't have gone in the net if the net had been on its pegs, right?
Sure.
And I was like, well, the play's going to get blown dead. It didn't get blown dead. The ref counted the goal, and we go down 2-1, and I lost it. I don't know why that triggered me, but I lost it. And I said something to him about being a disgrace to the game. And
Yep.
I may
Yep.
have mentioned a recent divorce of his and the rumors that his wife was now sleeping with other referees in the league. And I brought that up. Not so much as like a, hey, is this happening? I'm here for you. More of like, this is happening and you deserve it type of deal. And also, you're fat and you're a disgrace to reffing.
It says you needed a priest much more than I did
I
in that
very
moment.
much did need to consult a priest about this. I said a
Yeah.
lot, and he looked at me and kind of like for a moment couldn't believe that I had just said these things to him. And then he threw me out. And I went right to the locker room. And to answer your question, if I've ever been the glue guy, the coach comes into me and he says to me, I need you to not get thrown out of games because I'm not putting the backup in ever again. I
Yeah.
need you to be the captain. You're going to be the captain. And I said, I don't want to be captain. And he goes, being captain is a huge responsibility. And I'm like, that's why I don't want it. And he goes, a lot of people on this team look up to you. And I go, they shouldn't. I don't want them to. And
And that's usually how it works with the glue guy is you don't want it.
no,
It's natural. It happens.
yeah, I think
And
it's,
that's what you don't have to be. You're not it's typically not the captain. It's the guy who like really runs the show
yeah, that's what I
that
learned.
doesn't
It
want
was like essentially you can try to not be that guy, but you're that guy. And at the
it. And
time,
you know
like
what?
I was just afraid of the responsibility of it.
And do you think, because I think this is the case for me, I think getting thrown out, it increased my street cred.
I
It
think it did
increased
too.
the team's respect for me.
I think
And
it
I
did.
think it shows some fire, and the
Yeah.
boys love that.
Oh, the boys loved it. The boys on the other team loved it too. I'll tell you that. All the boys were loving it. And the parents loved it. My parents didn't love it, but the parents loved it. Like,
There's no equivalent for that in adult life anymore. Because you did it as a kid, it was like, all right, he lost, but like getting thrown out of a bar is certainly frowned upon.
mm,
In a
mm.
adult intramural league, getting thrown out of a basketball game is certainly less cool than in high school.
Oh, it becomes very sad very quickly.
Very, very sad. And you're like 30 years old, and all of a sudden the 35-year-old ref is thrown. Oh,
There,
and you can't get told to go home from work. There is not an equivalent in adult life for this.
you get thrown, ejected. You just get fired. You're done. I listen. I witnessed some wars in intramural basketball at the university,
Of
and
course.
when the kids were doing it, it was like, yeah, they're college kids. They're going at it. There's a lot on the line. There's a video on Barstool because a frat ball hockey league devolved into a full brawl, and everybody agrees, dogs. But those same kids
Student to
show up.
graduate.
Yeah, those same kids show up for pickup, and you add like one or two randos and an old guy in, and now it's sad.
Now it's sad.
Now it's sad.
And we need that competitive fix.
Yeah,
It's like, where are you getting that in your life?
I think a lot of people are running. I've seen a lot of.
The running groups.
That's sad to me.
Is it? Why is that sad to you? I get it.
I can't think of a place I'd rather not meet somebody. Like, when you think like a lot of people are going this for dating purposes, and I always think of like I want to go on a date. Like I'm gonna go to places where I'm gonna meet somebody that like does the things that I do, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a thing I would hate more than running.
So
When I
it's not a running club problem. It's a you don't like running problem.
I'll tell you this, and we've talked about this before. I bring it up a lot, but when I was looking into signing up for the Navy, the thing that I was most like worried about wasn't any of the training. It wasn't any of like the stuff that you see online that people have to go through. It was I was gonna have to wake up and jog a modicum of distance, and that was the thing. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I think my problem with the run club, the concept, and I like running, but I think that there's some poor guy out there or gal who started this club and they love running. God, they love it.
they
And
get a
they
high.
built this up. Yeah. And they're serious about running.
Oh, too
And then
serious.
2 months later blows up on a Facebook, group. And all of a sudden you got Olivia and Chad not even running, just there for the matcha latte at the end so they can flirt. I'd be pissed.
I'll tell
Like
you.
if that's your competitive drive, and you want to be a great runner because you need that, and you
Mm.
start this club, and all of a sudden, boom, it's infiltrated people
You
that are just trying to hook up.
you have no idea. Listen, how accurate you are. I got the inside scoop. My friend Ben is a collegiate track and field athlete.
Yeah,
Holds very closely near holds like school records in a few events. Unbelievably
mhm.
fast runner.
Yeah. What a great. That's going on the mental. Very nearly holds school records.
Very nearly holds
Hang
it.
the banner. Sorry, Ben. I don't know you.
He he's busy. Ben's a baller and he runs, right? So he's going to this run club. There is an influencer in the Portland area who is a Portland, Maine influencer, which is already sad. But
It's,
they
you gotta get
go
in where you can get in.
to this run club with their friend and they post all about it, about the run club, and they edit it together like all those videos you see of them doing the run, that sort of thing. Ben tells me that they showed up, they stood in the corner by themselves and chatted, and then they went out and did half the run and then gave up and then went back.
Yeah.
That's the reality of this.
and
It's
and they 3 Instagram stories
oh,
and a $9 latte, and they think they're an athlete.
I listen, I don't want to disrespect NARPs because I am a NARP, right? But the I don't think people understand the gap between you and like a real athlete, right? Like I would say the gap between you and a collegiate what was your big sport? Basketball or baseball?
I guess as I got older, basketball.
Basketball, right? So if we look at the gap between you and like the average Division One basketball player, right?
Point.
It's pretty big.
It's
But
quite large.
on an
Sure.
pure athleticism, like it's still big, but it's not huge, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a big gap. The gap between you and the average person is about 4 times that. Like you are objectively
Yeah.
in better shape, more athletic than the average person.
I do think it's about the same between me and a collegiate basketball player and probably Joe Schmo that doesn't do anything.
But
But yeah,
in their heads, they're
I
like,
will say the greatest compliment that I receive is when I tell people I went to Ohio State, and it's typically people that like live outside of the state and don't
oh, and they,
really aren't really fans. And I'm like, I'm a relatively tall guy. I'm relatively in shape. And they're like, "Oh, did you play a sport there?" And
this is what I'm saying.
and they're genuine questions. Like people on
Huh?
airplanes, they're like, "Oh, like, did you play a sport there?" And I'm like, "Did I play a sport at Ohio State? What, you think I was the starting running back for our Division I football program?" And I was like, "No, I didn't play a sport." It's very flattering.
One of the most humbling days of my life was when I think it was about, this would have been a year after I stopped playing hockey. I go to Finland to do a hockey camp, and there's going to be professional goalies there from the NHL. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to work with them. And in my head, I was like, I could have played D1. I could have played D1. And then I get up there and I'm on the ice with them for about 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wasn't like close. This is
Mhm. Yeah.
this is nuts. This is the craziest thing I've ever, like the effortlessness and the ease at which they just do things cannot be explained to the average person.
Yeah, and just the pure athlete. Like aside from, of course, they work hard and they're working out and they have these programs and
Right.
whatnot. But
Yeah.
just like, I mean, guys will come in from high school and they're just like, just their body is just built differently, like
Doesn't make
just their
any sense.
athleticism. I had the opportunity one time at Ohio State. I was playing pickup basketball, and I realized the court next to me, it was the football team was playing pickup basketball just in the spring, and it was C.J. Stroud, starting quarterback for the Houston Texans,
Not a big deal.
Marvin Harrison Jr., starting wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals,
Not a big deal.
like three offensive linemen, and I think another backup wide receiver. And I was like, I gotta get in this game, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I made my way into it. And these guys have played like 4. They're tired at this point, and they're not great basketball. Like the game was competitive because they're
Right.
football
Still.
players. They're not basketball players, but they got a steal. We're running on a fast break, and I'm chasing it down. And this guy puts it up off the backboard, and I just like look up, and I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble from the beginning. And I saw it go off the backboard, and I was like, okay, he's throwing it to someone. And so I just kept running. I did not stay in that spot. I did not try to grab the ball. I knew what was happening. I just kept running into the baseline, got out of the way. And I turn around, and there's Marvin Harrison Jr. as a sophomore in college, it felt like 20 feet in the air, 2 hands, dunked it. And I sat there and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a difference, isn't there?
There's a little bit of a gap. You see that
Yeah.
ball go up, and you're like, "There's about to be 2 nuts flying over my head right now," and I don't know
Yeah.
whose they are, but I'm not going to be here for it.
And I think I got out of the way. I wasn't around to experience that. And I said, oh, that's Marvin Harrison. Okay. Yeah.
I was working with the football team up in Maine, and they had Matt Mulligan, who played at Maine and is from Maine, and he played I think 6 or 7 seasons in the NFL. He played for the Patriots. He played for a bunch of teams. Journeyman NFL player, but still like legit NFL player, right? And he came in. Now he's retired, just to help the boys out, be with the guys, that sort of thing. And we're in the weight room, and they're doing their lifts and that sort of thing. And he walks in, and I thought the football players were big. This dude had to be 6'4", close to 250 pounds, and was the thickest human being I've ever seen in my entire life, right? And he walks in, and he's got on jeans and Timberland boots and like the most classic Paul Bunyan shirt you've ever seen, like looked like the state poster for Maine. And then he comes in with his backpack, and he sees them doing deadlifts. They're doing hex bar deadlifts, and then they're going into Nordic curls, right? And I would say like the strongest kid on the team, the running back, could do like the full all the way down touch and then
Yeah.
come back up, and he could do like one or two, right? Which is in itself
They're
crazy,
tough.
crazy
Yeah.
strong to do that. And must be 40-year-old Matt Mulligan goes, "Oh, we lifting today, boys? Let's go." Throws his bag down, runs over to the hex bar that has like 350 pounds on it, and with 2 hands just goes, "Woo, let's go," and just jumps up with it cold, and then runs over to the Nordic curl machine, and he goes, "Oh, I haven't done these in forever," and he gets up, shakes the machine, and he rips out like 6 of them, and then he gets up and he goes, "I think I pulled something," and then gets up and he's yelling and he's screaming, and he hits the boy. And there was one kid going to do a PR in the deadlift, and Matt just goes bam and smacks him on the back with both hands. I thought he knocked the kid out. He hit him right to the ground so hard. And after he left, I felt like a hurricane had just come through. And in my mind, I was like, I hope every athlete in here just realized like that guy barely made the NFL. So let's
Oh, yeah.
self-assess our quality as FCS football players, because
And all these guys that come in with no warm up. You got DK Metcalf, who's eating 3 bags of candy and a black coffee a day, and he
looks like he was
looks like
chiseled,
Yeah.
by Aristotle.
And no matter what you do, I can't beat DK Metcalf,
No,
and yet he's doing nothing.
genetics
I
are
mean, he's
big.
working out. It's unbelievable.
That
And the
offensive
difference
lineman is 320 pounds. He just ran a 5-second 40.
yeah. Could you imagine getting chased down by one of those guys?
Oh, did we talk about this all the time? Like, People say like, could you get a yard in the NFL? Yeah, if the hole opens
I
up
could
for
do
me
it.
and all of the big NFL players open it up, I could get. Well, the better question is, could I be running full speed for that first down and get hit and then get up off the field ever again?
Get up.
Would I
Yeah.
survive? That's the question. Because I don't know
Yeah.
if I would.
Yeah. And a lot of people overestimate their ability.
I think me and my roommates used to talk about like how many of us, what is the least number of us it would take to tackle Rob Gronkowski in the open field?
I'll just go for the legs.
Well, that's what they said, but like I've seen
Go at his
full
knees.
grown
Like
men do that and it didn't work.
yeah. Probably three,
I thought three
four.
was what we came on. One person on each leg and one person grab him around the waist and try to like drop him to one side.
Yeah.
But like
That's
it's
a good estimate. Sure.
yeah, it's just it's hard to explain to people like you're gonna work. There's kids in D1 that worked really, really hard to get there. And they
Really hard.
grinded and they weren't naturally talented, but they had some athleticism and they worked hard and things worked out. And then there's just those freak athletes, those Jadavian Clownies that like he woke
Yeah.
up, he kind of went through the motions, he was a little hungover, and then he went out and just balled. Johnny Manziel, he was hungover the
And,
whole.
and and you had periods in your life where you 100% thought you were going to the NHL. Like when you were a kid, you're like, I'm going to make it. I mean, I was like, well, I'll probably end up in the MLB when I'm 9 years old. You know?
So we don't have a professional team. So for me, I was like, I'm gonna play for the University of Maine because that was the highest
Yeah.
team that I got to see.
Sure.
I've still never
Yeah.
been to an NHL game. I know
Really? Me neither.
I know a dozen people in the NHL. I've never been to a game.
Yeah.
But like for me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna play college hockey for sure. I'm gonna play college hockey. And then it wasn't until I got older that I played a summer league showcase that was like an all-star team of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and I think Rhode Island was in there too. And it was like the best high school freshmen from that year, right?
Yeah.
And we were playing a bunch of like upperclassmen prep kids, basically. And at the end of it, they gave us this whole speech of like, you're all studs, you're all awesome, you're all going to play college hockey, and a few of you probably going to make millions of dollars doing this. And I left that going, I mean, hard
Not
to
me.
argue, hard to argue with that. And it like out of all of those kids, I think one kid ended up actually playing Division One, and he teetered out after 2 years.
It's unbelievable.
People get hurt. People choose other sports. A lot of them just went and played lacrosse instead.
And some people find their passion in investment banking and spreadsheets.
Oh yeah.
And
Listen,
they say, you know what? I'm going to put the NHL on hold. I think I want to go into business.
why would you want to play hockey and risk all of that and like that nonsense for millions of dollars a
Mhm.
year when you can make a couple 100,000 doing questionable tax maneuvers?
I've been asking the same question.
This is the thing.
That's what you should be doing. Questionable tax maneuvers.
Who's to say I'm not?
That's a good point.
Who's to say I'm not? I really feel that I have, but well, like I have an MBA, so like I have a good understanding of the tax code, but I also feel on the other hand that there's every year a 50% chance that I am unwittingly going to commit tax fraud.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This past year, I did my girlfriend's taxes. We weren't even dating at the point, and she was like, "I don't know how to do my taxes." I was like, "All right, calm down," and because her dad did them for her beforehand,
Oh, okay.
and it was like a week before the deadline, and I was like, "We'll do them." And of course, they were super simple, it's
Yeah.
like TurboTax and make it happen, but. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, "I guess I'll do." I felt like a real man in that that scenario. I was like, "Man, I'm taking care of business over here."
That's the TurboTax every single year. I log on and I don't see the previous year's returns, and I was like, did I not do it on TurboTax last year?
And you made 3 different accounts with 3 different emails. Yeah, and you know what? They could be committing tax fraud for me. I'd never know.
I have no
No
idea.
idea.
I
Yeah,
am so totally vulnerably in their hands
yeah.
that they
And
could
and
put
the
me in prison.
government, they don't tell you how much you owe.
Hmm.
They just tell you when you didn't pay what you owe,
Hmm.
then they come after you.
The craziest tax story I ever heard was from someone, and I'll tell you afterwards who did this, but I want to say it,
I
who
know
did.
them.
I'll tell you after, it wasn't Noah, but I'll tell you who did this afterwards. But they basically wrote a check to the government from tax time for what they thought they probably owed, and then sent it in. And then they got a check back from the government saying, you overpaid us. Here's $20,000 back. So I don't know how that works, but I would like to get to a point in my life where I can just write, like in my head, I'm like, how much do I owe in taxes? Probably this. And then they send me back 20 grand because I overdid it.
It's unbelievable.
That will be how I
Who
do
did
taxes
this?
eventually. I will tell you afterwards who this was, and it's gonna blow your mind. But
Man.
I don't want to
Yeah,
rat
I
them
wish I was that careless, I suppose.
out. Crazy maneuver. I,
That's awesome.
I mean, what a power move.
Yeah.
And I
I
found out about this because somebody was with them and opened the letter with the check in it. And they were like, yeah, you can open that. Go for it. And then they were like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's my tax refund. Like, why are you getting a 20 grand tax refund? Must have sent too much.
I think I know what it is now. That is funny. And a lot of people, they like on the topic of taxes, they see you get this every football season at Arrowhead Stadium. And I
Okay.
wonder if you know where I'm going with this. There's a B-2 bomber base out there. And
All
every
right.
every season you get at least a couple flyovers of a B-2 bomber.
Mm.
And then Twitter blows up. Oh, my tax dollars are going to a football game, yada yada. I'd happily pay my tax dollars to see a B2 every single day. You know how cool that is? You're flying a Dorito in the sky
Dorito of
that can
death.
reach anywhere. Did you see today the
Oh,
Trump
yeah.
meeting Putin?
Listen, I don't know.
Politics aside, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Every time something happens in the world and like our military could like in some way be involved or where people are like, oh, it's World War III, like they do a lot. I'll go on TikTok and I'll see these edits of B-2 bombers flying over to Star Wars music or just like what is it? I can't think of the song right now. But it just like to some good old Americana music, and
Mm-hmm,
I'm like, you
mm-hmm.
know what? I'm in.
Maybe this was always the point.
This
I saw
like
that. I couldn't believe that video today. That means Trump was like, all right, we're meeting Putin. Guys, can we get this was it was like a line of like 30 F-35s on this flight line that he's meeting him on.
yeah.
Imagine you're the leader of a leading world country visiting, and you just get
And
just
also, like, my
whoa.
understanding is like Russia and China have been trying to replicate these F-35, F-22s, and it's not going the best for them. What a flex to be like, I bet you wish you had those.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you showed up,
By
if
the
we
way, the
showed up in
same
Russia, all it would be, we'd get like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, is what Putin would bring out. I'm surprised they
I
weren't in
just
Alaska, to be honest.
and that would have been awesome. Yeah, playing some Toby Keith as a B-2 bomber. I really wonder what Putin thought because that's like just a huge fu. Like we have this, you try anything, that thing's coming.
Do you know he's been to Maine?
Putin
Yeah.
was that in the George Bush years?
George Bush made him go to Kennebunkport
Do,
to
do
meet him.
you do you think he enjoyed it? Do you think Putin
I
liked
think
Maine?
I would like to think that he stopped at like an LL Bean outlet really quick while he was on like while he was coming through. Or like but here's the thing too, right? Is knowing the people of backwoods Maine, and I'm not Kennebunkport is not backwoods Maine. It's a very nice area of Maine. But to get to it, you do have to go through backwoods Maine.
Mhm.
And I know like how these things work where that like it wasn't just like Putin showed up one day. Like the Russians sent people ahead to make sure everything was secure. So you got to imagine there's a little town It's probably something called it's called like Paris, Maine or something. It's named after it's Zimbabwe, Maine, and it's 400 to 500 of a bunch of white Americans who look like Bret the Hitman Hart, and they're all just hanging out. And all of a sudden, these Russian dudes show up out of nowhere, and they're just scoping the place out. You got to imagine the Facebook group chats were electric that night. Like
The man who spoke only Russian.
the spirit, the Russians are coming. The Cold War's not over. They're here. They're in Maine. I don't know if you are aware. I saw two of them today.
They're ready to go.
They're ready to go.
They're ready to fight,
They were
You're a
down.
Russian Secret Service agent. You spent your whole life in Russia, and you're going to other cool places, scoping it out, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in Maine. You're president. Just the places that you end up in it's unbelievable.
I honestly, when we were recruiting for hockey, I would pitch Russian players all the time because I was like, if we're trying to get a girl from Boston or California and we have to convince them to come to Maine, that's a tough sell. Boston, we can kind of do, but like they have so many schools. Like to get a girl from Florida or California or Texas, to come to Maine is going to be tough. Yeah. But a girl from the middle of Russia, this is Vegas for her. What an upgrade for life. Like this is the easiest sell in the world. She didn't speak a word of English. It's okay. We'll put her in Russian, like classes. We just need to get her through a semester. Like this is an unbelievable recruiting opportunity.
Yeah. That's really, you're not getting any of the West Coast.
Oh, you're getting none of those kids.
Eastern European.
Yeah. You told her it's going, like, it'll snow a little bit. And she goes, running water. And you go, every day. And she goes, I'm in. I'm in. Now, getting them into the school, whole other issue. Whole other issue. That's a problem.
Well, you change a few grades. Yeah.
Well, you basically you have to tell the university, I need you to reach out to whatever their high school situation is over there. And then they go, does anyone know what the Russian education system is? And we go, no. And then trying to figure out what is the equivalent of these essentially hieroglyphics we're looking at.
But it's fine. I'm sure she'll be fine. You put her
it translates roughly to calculus.
A communications major, and you let her communicate in Russian.
So let me see if I can find this story. Do you know Yuri Prohaska?
Unfamiliar.
So Yuri Prohaska is the former, I think he was a heavyweight or a light heavyweight UFC champion. Mm-hmm. He's best known for his fights with Alex Pereira, where he basically Alex Pereira does like his, I don't know if he's Mayan or Aztec, what is like descendants, Amazonian maybe, but he does like the like that's his like music he comes out to, and he does a lot of these.
This part can't go out.
Well, it's going.
Canceled.
Look up the video. That's what it is. That's what I'm not even like. That's not me just pulling something out of my butt. That's what the song sounds like. And he comes out and he does like his whole, ritual thing, and he does rituals before fights, and it's part of his thing. So Yuri Prohaska accuses him of black magic and voodoo after getting knocked out in their first fight. And he says, he didn't fight me like a man. He fought me like a coward because he used voodoo and black magic. And he goes to Dana White and he says, Dana, we have to outlaw this voodoo. And Dana goes, I don't know what you want me to do. And Yuri goes, well, two can play at this game. And so Yuri goes and gets shamans to bless him to counteract the voodoo of the other shamans, right? And so he goes in and he fights Pereira a second time. Now we're on voodoo terms. Like it's all
voodoo.
It's all do. And he gets kicked in the face and knocked out again. So, ball don't lie. But Yuri Prohaska, so my ex-girlfriend obviously plays Olympic ice hockey, and she, I don't know if it was for World Championships or the Olympics or what, but Yuri Prohaska is Czech and she is Czech. And so they brought him in to do a workout for the team. And she told me that he basically made them do jumping jacks for about 10 minutes. And then about 4 or 5 minutes in, my ex-girlfriend goes, why are we doing this? I'm exhausted. This is stupid. And then Yuri Prohaska looks her in the eye and goes, I guess you should have picked a different sport.
Well, it's all the same with and it's so different over there. It's just so different how they're raised, how
Oh,
they go about their business. But like all these fighters from Dagestan, who's
crazy.
that one fighter that goes, send son to Dagestan, 5 years, forget.
Oh,
Sent back mail.
Mahachev. Yeah.
Yeah,
3 to 4 years. You call him one time. You can call him one
yeah.
time.
Before years Dagestan, he will be good. And it's like they're crazy. I'm considering that with my son. It's
It,
gotta
this,
work.
I'm convinced it would work. And
Yeah,
the thing
it
is,
really
he
would.
did send his son to Dagestan. He did send him for 3 months, and he will get better at fighting.
It's unbelievable. And
They
there's every one that retires, there's just the next, and then the next, and
It's
then the
crazy.
next.
And they just come out and it's just these devout Muslim 22-year-olds with the biggest beards and just the scariest dudes. Do you see
And
the thing DDP is fighting Hamzat Chimaev and they're doing their
come
stare
on.
down and he just starts screaming Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I
like, you
saw
know
it, yeah.
what? The fight's over. Like this guy's look into his eyes. He's a psycho. He's going to win.
Yeah. And they are these guys are the only like Muslim athlete that are like actually like Muslim. You go into like
That is
soccer and
very
you go,
true.
"What's the guy who plays for Barcelona?"
They
And he's like,
stuck
"Oh
at
yeah,
just
somebody
so many
out
sports.
Muslim." And it's just he's just drinking and he's got 30 like models over at his Barcelona mansion versus these Dagestan guys. I can respect it at least, you know. These Dagestan guys are just there in the gym all day.
All day.
That's all they do. They're not drinking. They're not doing anything against whatever rules they have. It's and at a point you got to tip your cap. They're
I,
good at what they do.
I'm enormous amount of respect. I when I was in Virginia, I signed up to do jujitsu. I was like, I listened to enough podcasts where I was convinced by male influ. I did get influenced. I was influenced. I was like,
Of course.
I
Yeah.
am a sitting
Yeah.
duck out here. And
Yeah.
so I go
You do
in
need to
to
do jiu-jitsu.
I do need to do jujitsu. And I go in for a jujitsu class and the instructor on the first day was a wrestling guy who basically taught like wrestling takedowns. He taught like a single leg and a double leg. And then he ends the class where he goes, all right, let's line up by size, right? And so we line up sort of like the little dolls. And then he has the two smallest people wrestle. And then the winner wrestles the next person, and you just go all the way up to the top, right? So I'm roughly in the middle.
And you're getting worried. Oh, I thought you'd be at the end. Okay.
I'm roughly in the middle. My friend Drew, who is now a public school kindergarten teacher in Boston,
Good.
who during this one time, the one class he did, earned the nickname the orangutan because he was a big ginger dude, about 6'4", gangly ginger man, and they called him the orangutan. And we would be out and about walking around, and then all of a sudden, the scariest dude in like a metalhead T-shirt would go orangutan, and you would be like, "What's up?" He's at the far end, and then a few of my friends are down this way. And as we're going up, I'm like, "What am I gonna do? I know a single leg and I know a double leg, and that's it." And
And nothing
I'm
else.
about to go with a purple belt. The kid next to me's got a purple belt. And so I get in there and it's sure enough the purple belt is looking at me and I was like, what is like he knows I have two things. He knows I'm either gonna shoot a double leg or I'm gonna shoot a single leg. And so my only advantage is I have to fake one and then go for the other.
Do the other.
But the problem is they're kind of the same. The only difference is where I grab them. And so
I fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once. I fear the man who's practiced two takedowns a handful of times over the
roughly a
course of
dozen
several
times,
weeks. Jujitsu.
roughly a dozen times on his female friend because she didn't want to go with any of the other males in the class. So in a controlled environment where she lets him pick her up and put her down. And so I'm like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something crazy and make him think that maybe I got a third trick up my sleeve. The elusive third option. And so I tried. We talked about green light, red light, green light, where it's like if you're far enough away, we can't hit each other. You're good. If you're in like hitting space, you're no good. But if you're close enough, they can't
Really
hit you.
close.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm gonna stay in green light, and then I'm gonna get into red light, and I am going to basically fake like a clinch like this, like I'd seen in WWE, and then I'm gonna go right down for the hips, and I'm gonna
Always
go
good
for
that
it.
you went for fake wrestling to apply to
I'm
real
gonna use a
wrestling. Okay.
fake wrestling move
Yeah.
where they go
Yeah.
like this and then they clinch up, which I learned recently is just a bunch of crap. Like,
Yep.
but
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
it's all I had. And you know what? It worked. I got
Oh.
I got him down and I just had to hold him down for a little bit and then 30 seconds ran out. I was on top. I got the win and I was like, "Let's do it." Oh my gosh, I won. I won a fight. And then I look up and I realize I won a fight. So now I got the next guy who's bigger than me.
And he
And
just saw your signature move.
who saw I played my card. He knows what I got. And he jumped immediately and went for a takedown. And he hit me so hard in the ribs with his shoulder that I got the wind knocked out of me. And I was like kind of seeing stars a little bit. But he hit me so hard, and I think he was expecting like some resistance, and I just gave him
Just
none.
none.
So he went over the top. I ended up on top. I win the second round. But now I'm going into the third round,
The
and I
third
see
guy.
the instructor is next in line. I'm dazed. I can barely breathe, and I'm somehow 2-0. And I was like, please put me down because I need to go and like get an ice pack and see a medic. And I did get tapped out very quickly.
I thought
And
you were going to say you did a suplex on. You went deeper into the WWE bag.
no, he grabbed my shirt and then he kicked my leg out, and then I hit the ground and he grabbed an arm bar and I tapped immediately and he goes, "That was a little quick." And I was like, you know what? You know what? Did you not see my two victories? I'm 2-1. I'm 2-1. I don't want to hear it. And so then my friend Drew steps up, the orangutan,
Orangutan.
going against a Division III collegiate wrestler and jiu-jitsu brown belt. And Drew is so gangly and so long that this guy can't get in range and he can't figure out how to get in. And Drew is like throwing kicks, kind of, but they're not good, but they're enough to keep the guy at distance. And I don't know how he did it, but he ended up tagging him with a calf kick. And the guy was like, you know what? That was an unbelievable calf kick. You're the winner, man. And Drew won the whole thing. And so
The orangutan.
he nicknamed the orangutan. So if anyone listening in Boston seems a very tall ginger dude with an enormous beard and sort of a pot belly and then very thin limbs, that's the orangutan. Keep your distance.
Did
He will he will beat the crap out of you.
He's the
One of the
toughest
most
guy.
dangerous men alive.
Did Beth tell you her aversion to orangutans?
Does she not like them?
Oh, she hates them. They're one of it's like their least favorite creature. She's like, I hate their faces. I go to the zoo and I hate seeing an orangutan among grapes and other things.
I'm working right now to get one of the people from the Chicago Zoo on the podcast because I was told in confidence by a zookeeper there that they are fairly certain orangutans are more intelligent than we know and that they play dumb so they don't have to do stuff.
And maybe that's why Beth doesn't like them.
Do you think just they're not pulling their weight?
I think so, because they're just there, just eating flies off their backs. I don't know if that's true, but I get it. They're kind of a scary looking creature. If you look too long at an orangutan, you're like, something's up here.
And they kind of look back at you and they do they give you like the kissy face.
And I wish we had a video feedback. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it's not a video
Yeah.
podcast. It's why I I'll show you this sometime. I'll send you a video. I do an unbelievable gorilla impression.
Please.
I do really good gorilla movement. I can't do it on this. I need like to back
Uh,
up, but I can walk around. I have a yoga ball that I do my little thing with because I know the gorillas love yoga balls. That
mhm.
I'll do it for you.
That's
It's the spitting
I
image of a
can't wait for it.
gorilla.
Yeah, that's good. But I wanted to bring Beth up because in your last episode,
Yes.
you discussed the open concept of a toilet. It
Mm,
started with the open concept of a bed that our
mhm.
cousin Noah
One of the
just like a
craziest things.
psychopath, just a bed right in the middle.
One of the craziest
And then
things.
I don't know how it led to that conversation of a toilet being in the middle of a room, but you both agreed that that would be just an absurd thing to do, right?
Absolutely. Are you about to reveal
And
something about your bedroom?
well, it's not in my bedroom. It's not in my current house. But and I asked you this before. Have you ever heard of a Pittsburgh Potty?
No.
And
Is it
Sam,
like a
you've actually
Cleveland steamer?
stayed. It is not exactly.
Okay.
And you've actually stayed in a home with a Pittsburgh Potty before. When you stayed at my apartment in college, I had a Pittsburgh Potty, and they were very common in like Rust Belt, Appalachia. So Pittsburgh, that's named after Pittsburgh, but like West Virginia, all those places, there are toilets in people's basements. Just like just open toilet, like the washing machines here, and just a toilet's right next to it. Maybe a shower head just in the middle of your basement. And both college apartments that I lived in Columbus, so right in that Rust Belt, had a basement where the washer dryer's here in this, dingy, like it's just concrete floor down there and wood
Mm,
and a toilet. And it's kind of awesome because the upstairs bathroom is
okay. 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 One second. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly.
please.
What you're telling me is if
Mhm.
I had walked down into the basement,
Correct.
turned the light on, what I would
And
see is
it's not finished whatsoever. Like this
what
is a
I would see is a washer and a dryer off to the side, and in the middle of the room, I would
maybe
see
not exactly the middle, but just in
I
the
would see a
place. So
big old toilet in the middle of the room.
big old toilet. Running
And
water works perfectly.
you're telling me that this is such a common occurrence
Common occurrence.
that we call it the Pittsburgh Potty.
Pittsburgh Potty.
So,
And I had never seen one until we had toured this place. And you're going down, this is a college apartment, old house. The stairs to the basement, it's like a horror movie.
did you ever
You
use
got
it?
cracked wood. Oh, all the time.
All the time?
And you go downstairs, you take the turn, and you're like, is there a toilet down here? And the leasing was like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of those in this area. And we're like, what
What?
in the world? Yeah. And my roommate, Cam, I hope he doesn't listen to this because I'm putting him on blast. He loved that thing. He would routinely, like we had a normal bathroom upstairs. I would wake up in the morning, 8 a.m. something, Tuesday morning to college, and I'd be in the kitchen thinking I'm the only one up, making dinner maybe or making breakfast. And maybe I have a headphone in, and all of a sudden, Cam just appears from the basement stairs, which is attached to the kitchen out of nowhere. He scared the crap out of me on countless occasions because he would just go to the basement to do his morning number two because he loved it. It was just peaceful for him, and it was so bizarre.
Was there
And
any
the
like
reason that he's
surroundings? Like, are you just out in the open?
out
If
in the open, our second apartment had like a curtain you could close around it for a little more privacy, but for the most part, you're out. Which it also comes in clutch for like parties. If you have people over your house, you're like, just go downstairs, and they're like, oh, this is a
if you
thing.
sent me
This will,
downstairs into that toilet, I would assume I'm being filmed for a Russian website.
yeah. But you know what? You would use it, would you not?
No, I wouldn't.
What?
I'm not gonna
You
be
go, yeah,
pooping in the
this is
open.
totally. Well, if you're pooping at a party, you got bigger
No,
problems
I'm
than
not.
that.
I'm not a pilgrim in the gold rush. This is crazy. Like the only excuse for this is it's like 1840 and like there's just no other option. Like I would understand them putting their toilet in the middle of the room. They just got indoor plumbing. They just
So the
got it. They're
reason
still figuring it out. The bathroom concept is foreign.
so the reason why these exist, and I wish we had like a Jamie, Jamie, can you look that up, pull this up
Yeah, we
on the
don't have
computer?
one.
That'd be awesome.
One day
We
when this
should you should
podcast is big.
look up a picture. You look up a picture just
All
for
right, we'll
your
look up a picture. Uh,
education here.
the
The
Pittsburgh
reason that
Potty.
Yeah, just Google Pittsburgh Potty. The reason they exist is because, in these Rust Belt like mining towns, men would be at work all day and they'd come home covered in soot and coal and dirty and whatever. And so instead of getting it through the house, they'd go directly to the basement. They'd either have like a cellar door, and these guys would go down, they'd take off all their clothes and they'd shower down there. And there's a toilet down there and a sink.
What am I
And so it's
looking at?
exactly. And they would do this so to not get the house dirt. So it's from those years of,
What am I looking
you
at?
know, and it's concerning. Like these are real pictures. I wish I had a picture of the one from my college house.
This is like I would check the freezer for heads. That's what this
Yeah,
is. This
go
is
ahead
like
and go ahead and describe to the listeners here.
listeners, imagine you're in the basement of a serial killer and there's a rickety 6 steps to the basement and it's just stone and earth and dirt and all sorts of stuff. And in the middle of the room, not attached to anything in particular,
It's a
is
woman.
a toilet that is next to a heater. What I'm looking at, I'll show you. This is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, yeah. Ours
Right?
was right next to a washer dryer.
Right next to a heater. It looks like somewhere where if I told you this person in the house, they were keeping slaves, they'd kidnapped someone and they tied them up in the basement. This is where you'd expect to find them. And in
Absolutely.
fact, I have in games of Call of Duty found people tied to Pittsburgh potties, is what I'm realizing now, and I have had to rescue them during
Absolutely.
during combat in Call of Duty. That
So when you and Beth were talking about, I said, not only is that normal, I've lived in 2 different places. I wouldn't be shocked if Beth's college apartment had a Pittsburgh Potty.
that's
It's
crazy.
it's just it's an amazing piece of Americana, just of our history, and you'll find them in pretty
Six.
much every house that was built,
That is
pre
fascinating.
1970.
I can't believe I know 2 people who have both one had a toilet that was in the middle of the room and had a bed that was in the middle of the room.
It's unbelievable.
That's
It,
crazy.
and it was genuinely one of the best features of our house. I'm not gonna lie. It was awesome to go down there and use it when you really wanted some peace and quiet. It was great when you had guests. Like go to the basement and they're like, "What?" You're like, "You'll figure it out."
I would tell people it's haunted.
I never just go use the toilet.
Just go use. You had other options though,
There
right?
were we had one in like upstairs, like
That's what I thought.
but like if it was occupied, go use the toilet. Cam, what I'm telling you is he would the upstairs bathroom would not be occupied, and he would make the conscious decision. I want to go to the basement. I'd go scroll and just hang out. I didn't understand that, but he enjoyed it.
But so you're waking up in the morning, you're going to get breakfast, and then from the distance underneath you, you're just hearing.
And it was far enough away. You're not hearing. I don't think Cam makes a lot of sounds. I can't put that on him. But yeah,
The
sometimes
silent
you might hear
pooper.
it too. You might hear it too. And the most dangerous game was when you went downstairs to do laundry.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna walk in and someone's gonna be
You're
pooping.
not thinking of this, and you make the turn. And, hey, whoa.
What was the girlfriend's opinions on the Pittsburgh potty?
I don't know if they used it too many times. I think generally negative, but from a guy's perspective, it was awesome. We had just had a roll of toilet paper just on the top of the toilet. I don't think their girlfriends liked it, but it's not like we put it in there. It just happened to be there.
It's a piece of Americana. Many
It's a
years
piece
ago,
of
a very hardworking steel plant worker came
absolutely,
home from a long day and used this.
and used it. What an amazing piece of history! What a legacy! We stand on the shoulders of giants,
We
man.
sit on the porcelain of giants.
We sit on the
Our,
porcelain
our cheeks
cheeks of
warmed by
giants.
their cheeks, which have sat before
It's
us.
absolutely.
And now there's
I
people
find
sitting on
that
it now that have no idea the legacy of manliness and masculinity that they're carrying on by pooping in the open.
I do think it was like four girls that lived in that house after us. I hope they used it because you feel like girls wouldn't really venture down there.
Oh, you know that they went down there, they saw that, and then they've locked the door and never gone down since.
Well, the washer dryer's down there, so you got to go down there.
Ah, listen, I so
I don't think we ever cleaned that toilet either, but I don't remember it being like very dirty. Maybe
so
occasionally.
essentially your basement was an outhouse. You had the world's biggest outhouse.
Well, not many basements are like that, but yeah, it was a big old outhouse, sure.
Outside of Pittsburgh, most basements do not have free-ranging
I wouldn't even
toilets.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it like was just it wasn't even connected to plumbing and it just ended up like in the ground, like just a
So if
hole.
you is okay, so if you go over to somebody's apartment, you go over to a girl's apartment after a date, right?
Mhm.
And you walk into her studio apartment, would you rather see a toilet in the middle of the room and then the bed off to the side, or the bed in the middle of the room facing the window with the toilet in the
Number
bathroom?
two. Now, if she had a downstairs toilet, I would appreciate that. In the bedroom,
It's a studio
I think
apartment.
I think that's a little much. Bed I can live with.
Is it
Bed
enough?
it's a little psychopath behavior, but I wouldn't. That's not a that's not a deal breaker to me.
Well, here's the thing though, is I think there's a very like there's a lot of things in relationships obviously that are big moments, but one of them is the first time you see your partner sort of really hunched over using the bathroom. And I just don't think that if you woke up in the middle of the night and then you kind of look over and you see that person just
Okay, but
backlit by the moon, hand elbows on their knees.
of course, there's going to be a different room for that. You are right, though. That is a part of a relationship that you reach that you're like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Bethy thought it was weird to be showering while someone was using the bathroom.
Well, I was following that conversation, and I don't think just cheeks are going up against the glass as you described. I don't think it's that weird.
But you agree that like the particles do get into the moist air. The last thing you want to add to steam is poo. That's the last thing I want. I don't want to be I don't want to be the in any part of that.
And do you know what would solve that problem?
A Pittsburgh potty.
You know the answer. Pittsburgh Potty, Sam.
It
Oh,
might be an
that is
unbelievable idea.
an unbelievable idea. I think every home in America should have one. I
Okay,
don't know
but
why it's only a Rust Belt thing.
there's a listen, let's put one in at the White House.
I agree.
Let's put one in at the
Why
White
not?
House.
It
Vladimir
should be
Putin comes to Kennebunkport, Maine, and George Bush
Yes,
goes,
Pittsburgh
faith
Potty.
potties in the basement.
Potty's in the basement. Who was the JB Pritzker?
JB
Is that his
Pritzker,
name?
he did the Chicago potty, which is there isn't
The
one.
no potty. Maybe he kept a secret one in his basement. Maybe
Well,
that was the whole
he
thing.
can't have one for tax reasons. We're talking about
But
TurboTax.
it,
When you're doing them, you can lower your tax deduction by roughly 100 grand if you remove the
I
toilets by April 2nd.
we might have solved this whole case because I believe the tax break was because he didn't have bathrooms in his home.
Yeah.
I
Is
don't
it a
think a
bathroom
Pittsburgh
if you can only
Potty.
poop and pee?
No, I don't believe so because a Pittsburgh Potty, it's not like an extra room. You're taking the basement and you're
Right.
just placing a
Mm.
toilet. I don't think that that constitutes what a bathroom is. We didn't have like a
You can't
sink to
bathe.
wash our hands. Can't bathe.
You can't bathe.
You can poop. That's what JD. That's what he did.
He must have
He
gone
put
with
a
the
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
potty
Potty.
in, tax break the rest.
Well, the other option is a bucket in the corner.
The other option is a bucket in the corner. I don't think he went with that option.
I hope he didn't. You can't tell me you're the governor of Chicago and you're pooping in a bucket in the corner at your house?
Well, there is no governor of Chicago, but
Mayor.
yeah, we'll be
He was
back.
governor of Illinois, sorry. Governor of Illinois, which is pretty much Chicago plus like six other people. And you're pooping in a bucket and that like what are we doing?
I agree.
I
You're 100% right.
It's unbelievable how this has all come together. That the text break, maybe a Pittsburgh Potty's the move, and we have a perfect basement to do it here.
At your house,
Oh yeah. Oh,
I think you should.
and we might look into that. We just redid our bathrooms. This could be the next move, the Pittsburgh Potty.
Pittsburgh Potty. It could be.
Speaking of potties, didn't you have
This I don't like that start of the question.
you said there was a podcast you'd listen to about potties? Did you not listen to something about potties?
I don't know what you're trying to put a
You
podcast. I listen about
you
potties.
said you just started a podcast. You said this to me 2 days ago on FaceTime.
About you and Beth maybe talking about potties.
You said, and 2 days ago, you started a podcast.
I've not. I personally could start a podcast talking about potties, but I think you got me mixed up here, Sam.
Did you not say that you were? Did I just imagine that?
I think so, which is
Oh,
strange if you're dreaming about me in that way.
well, I have precognitive dreams. I did foresee us speaking of potties.
That's just a made up thing.
It's not a made up thing, it's a real thing.
Precognitive dreams.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Google it.
What does that mean?
It's basically when you have a dream of something that ends up happening.
All right. That's yeah, you're a fortune teller. What
I'm not a fortune teller because the thing is like you have the dream and then you kind of forget it. And
naturally.
then like you have like a couple moments of like, wait a minute, like I feel like I know what's like I've done this before, like sort of that deja vu feeling.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's from the dream, and then you remember the rest of the dream, and then it happens. And it's usually very quick and it's very like unsettling. But I've had it happen probably one or two times a year. I have it happen.
Yeah, I don't mean to shit you down here, but I'm not buying that.
The
Zero
next
percent of it.
the next one I have, I will text you first thing in the morning what the dream was.
Every dream this happens.
It's not every dream. Like it's hard to explain, but like it's different
I
from
don't
a
want to
normal
know what
dream.
you're dreaming about. I don't need to get into this stir. All that red light is it's it's changing something in there.
The amount of supplements that I macrodose lion's mane before bed, and I have the craziest dreams. Like, but like
Yeah, I could imagine.
the precognitive dream though is like it's not like a normal dream where you're like experiencing something. It's more like it's more vivid. It feels like real life.
Hmm.
Like you feel more cognizant of what's happening. It's a very specific feeling that when you're having it, you're having one. And then you wake up and you're like, okay, that's what it was. But most of the, like I said, it only happens a couple times a year.
Yeah, convenient. The most wild dreams I had was when you said macrodosing supplements. This reminded me of was when I was microdosing about four vaccines at the same time. Well, I was microdosing the disease because that's what a vaccine is, at the end of the day. Because in the Air Force, you get immunizations if you have to travel
Yeah.
places. And
You might
we
have to go to
obviously,
some places with some pretty gnarly stuff.
like Africa and South America, right? They're
Yeah.
not, some countries that aren't fully developed. And I showed up at immunizations, like the doctor's office for this, and I give them my ID, and they look me up, and they're like, "Yeah, you need 4 different vaccines." I had no clue. I was like, "Sure," and they're
Sounds
like,
about
"This,
right.
this, this, this," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll be fine. I've gotten a shot before at the doctor's office.
Mm.
How bad could it be? It's like a flu shot."
Oh yeah.
And they stabbed me 2 on each arm, 4 at the same time. Already a bad start. Polio, anthrax, yellow fever, and I forget what the fourth one was, but somewhere in that same vein.
West Nile?
And maybe, maybe it was, and then I gave it a shot, and they're like, keep the arms moving so you don't get too sore. It was like, oh, how bad could these be? And I went about 2 days. 2 days didn't like my arm was sore, but nothing crazy. And both those days, I asked my buddy who was with me at the start support who got the same stuff. I was like, "Oh, you want to work out?" And he's like, "No, I don't feel too good, man." And I'm like, like, "What are you talking about? Like, freaking loser, you know?" And he's like, "I think those vaccines." I'm like, "I haven't felt a thing. I haven't felt anything." I go and work out 2 days after, leg day, big leg day, good workout. And I feel great going into this thing. And the longer the workout goes out, the more I start slowing down. And I like get into the conditioning part. And I'm like, man, I really don't feel good. Like, what's going on? And I like laid down on the ground, like arms up. And I was like, holy cow, like, what is going on right now? And I start walking. I call it a day. I'm like, my body doesn't feel good. I start walking in my car. And it hits me. I have polio, anthrax,
Correct.
yellow fever, and possibly West
West
Nile
Nile virus.
all at the same time. I have I may have never felt worse physically ever in my life. I FaceTimed Beth on the drive home and I was like, I don't know if I can make the drive home. Like I'm calling you. If I crash, it's because I feel like I'm gonna pass out. I got Sam, I'm a 24-year-old
Yeah.
adult male. I drew myself a bath. I was like, I feel so bad. I feel so poor physically. I need a bath, like a warm bath. And I just sat there, which is a very embarrassing thing to do, as I feel
Like
like
a
as a grown
Victorian
man,
painting.
because you feel so exposed. And I took a bath, just was sweating profusely. And then I was like, I need to fall asleep. And I took a nap and I had some vivid dreams.
Of the next life.
Yeah. I was dreaming of West Nile, and
I was in the Nest Nile. I
it
was
was
transported.
it was unbelievable. And I was like, how are they allowed to give me 4 vaccines at one time? I've never felt worse.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
It was awful. And then the next day, I decided to do like a trial drug. They give us like sleeping pills sometimes
yeah.
if we like need to fall asleep. And I was like, oh, let me try this out. And I added that to the concoction of chemicals and drugs that were in my body.
It's so funny to me that there are people online who won't eat plastic because they're worried it will give them cancer. And then there's people like you who are taking sleeping pills, about 4 different disease shots at the same time, and just powering through it. But there are people out there that are like, if I sniff a microplastic, I get a headache and I need to call the day.
Yeah. Try polio. How about that? You think microplastics are going to kill you? Have you ever had anthrax? Yeah.
So
Get on the lead.
polio is an interesting one because they couldn't figure. So back in I think it was 1890s, there was this thing called the cock rule in medicine. Koch.
Sure. Yeah.
Koch, everyone. Cock. The cock rule. It's
I have a different one of
Koch.
those rules.
And the idea was basically, hey, all disease, like a lot of these diseases, are caused by one virus. So every disease is caused by one virus. It was called Koch's postulates. He postulated that all diseases come from one virus. And all doctors at the time were like, yeah, that's the case. And so polio, it can be viral, but it can also be bacterial instead.
Mhm.
And so they developed the polio vaccine, but it only accounts for like 30% of polio. The rest of polio is from bacteria that's in people's digestive systems and intestines. The, you know, the way polio works is poliomyelitis is the the symptom essentially that they named polio after, right? And obviously everyone would go,
That's FDR had polio,
he
correct?
did. He had poliomyelitis. And so people would get the lesions on like the bottom of their spine, which is why they'd be paralyzed from the waist down, but not like the waist up. And the idea was like, well, if this is something that's, circulating in the way a virus would circulate, it should be all the way down, theoretically. And this was their thought at the time. And so they were like, why are people only getting it from the waist down? And they did some research and they figured out that there was bacteria that was causing polio that was going through the gut, the leaky gut, and getting into the spines, because I guess the intestine and the base of the spine are very close together, especially when you're very young and developing. And they go, well, how is it leaking through our guts? And the reason was because there was a hefty amount of lead and mercury and arsenic in the day-to-day diets, will say, the exposures of everyday Americans, because it's also the Industrial Revolution. There's poo everywhere. The Pittsburgh Potty is not being utilized enough. And
Not
so,
enough, or too much, possibly.
or too much, possibly. And so they're like, well, we need to start pulling these things out. Later on in the 1900s, they start getting rid of the lead and the arsenic and the mercury and sort of thing. And then they introduce this, what would you call it? A pesticide. I forget the name of it, D something. They introduce this
Mhm.
pesticide and they're like, you know what? We're going to spray it on the food, but just to be safe, just spray it on your food before you eat it, just to be
Uh-huh.
safe. And so
Mhm.
people were just eating straight pesticides. And they're like, man, we cannot beat this polio. Something in our gut is just,
It's just I can't believe it.
our
And
gut
I've
is incredibly permeable. We got rid of the lead, the mercury, the arsenic. What is the problem? And so
I
you don't,
saw
go ahead.
I saw an ad for cigarettes. I think it was like Kent cigarettes, and I forget what year it was. Obviously, it was way back back when, but they were advertising like asbestos filters. They're like, this, it's so much healthier for you. We have asbestos filters. Now all the smoke won't get in your lungs. And people were buying these things and just a pack a day of asbestos going, I don't know what's going wrong with me, doc. And then meanwhile, the doctors are prescribing this. They're like, well, try some asbestos cigarettes and that might fix it.
That might fix it. No, listen, I've been a doctor for 34 years. This fixes the
Which makes
problem.
you which makes you think we look back now at
Mm.
all these people, put pesticides on your food, that'll fix it.
Oh, yeah.
Asbestos cigarettes. Are we doing similar things? In
Oh,
50 years, are people going to look back at us and be like, what the fuck?
oh, yeah.
What do you
Like,
what do you think? What do you think is a modern recommendation?
I would hazard a guess 50% of the therapies and supplements that I've done in the last 2 to 3 years, in a good amount of time, we will discover was horrible to be doing. Like, I've taken so many supplements that were, I mean, mushrooms, number one. They were going, he was taking a gram of what every single day? And he was paying how much for paying good money for it, paying good money for it. Taking, he was taking chaga mushroom, the extremely poisonous chaga that completely shuts down your immune system. What did he take it for? Immune modulation? Yeah, it worked. It shut it on. Like it's gonna be something like that, or hyperbaric, where it's like they just increase the atmospheric pressure and slowly squeeze themselves, or something like that. Like the thing is, we have like the scientific method now, so we can be a little bit more accurate. But
Yeah, there's
I mean,
definitely stuff. I can't wait for my kids to be like, Dad,
I went to an
you're doing what?
acupuncturist.
I was like,
I went to an acupuncturist and she put fire on my lower back. And she said, when it feels warm, if it will feel warmer in areas where there's more issue. So if you don't feel the fire, then no, it's backwards. If you don't feel the fire, then it's healing. Once you feel the fire, the healing's done. And she put it on my back, and then one side got hot, and I was like, yeah, it feels hot. And she took it off, and then the next side got hot, and she's like, all right, we've aligned something. And I was like, that just cost
And
me
did it work?
$80, but
Did you feel better?
no, no. I didn't. The
It's like a chiropractor, and some chiropractors out there are good, but sometimes
Sure.
you go for an hour and you pay however much, and they do a million things, and then you walk out and you sit in your car and you tweak your back again, and you're like, what the heck?
I gotta go right back. There is flimsy science at best for most of what chiropractors do. My sister Meg, who for those who don't know, is in school to be a doctor, specifically a doctor of osteopathic medicine. So she does manipulation, and she also has that background as a trainer. Hates chiropractors because there's a few things they do that are helpful. Like there's some of their spinal decompression stuff is pretty good, and it's obviously good to just help people feel good and the placebo effect and that sort of thing. But those neck snaps can go very bad.
Bad. Yeah.
When
that's what I do every morning.
That's all you need to do. That's the thing, is you can just do it on your own.
It can't be good for me. There are times where I'm grabbing and it's like,
I've told, as long as you don't force it with a hand, if you can do it naturally, you're fine.
yeah, I've never forced it with my hand. Of course, yeah.
Never,
I'm
ever.
gonna snap my neck one day.
I will say the acupuncturist, before she sticks the needles in, she goes, I may hit a nerve and you may feel a very sharp and intense pain. If I do, just let me know and I will back off a little bit. I was like, so you're either going to do nothing or you're going to stab me directly on a nerve.
Yeah. It's dangerous. There were two times in my life where the first time where I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna have neck problems was when I pole vaulted in high school, for those that don't know. And we were trying to do backflips on the pads. Now, the problem with that is the pad, you get zero air off of those things. It's not a trampoline. It's just a soft pad. And I tried to do one, and I landed just directly on my neck. And before that moment, never once had to crack my neck. After that moment, it's all the time. That couldn't have been good for me.
For me, it was tubing a camp. I got thrown viciously off of the tube, and I felt heat shoot down the back of my neck, down my body, and I thought I paralyzed myself.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
The second portion that made me realize, you're not invincible, was during, and it wasn't even to me, but it was during pilot training where we are, you're pulling G's up there in this little aircraft. And I got up there, and it's we do this little thing called a G exercise, and it's like a little warm up. And you go to 90, you pull, and it's 3 to 4 G's for 3 to 4 seconds. And I am up there with an instructor. It's maybe my 5th flight. I'm definitely still learning. I'm not doing this perfectly. And I'm flying, and my instructor's behind me. Major Watkins, love the guy to death. And I go, you good, sir? You ready? And he's like, yep. I go, great. And we go to the left, and I pull. And as soon as I pull, I hear, oh! And this guy, he's a major in the Air Force. He's flown for a long time, and he's very used to the T6, which we're flying. And I hear, oh! And I'm like, I freeze. I'm scared. I don't know if I did something wrong. I don't know what he's trying to do. And I finish the maneuver, and I roll out. And he's like, ugh. And I was like, oh no.
You okay?
I'm like, yeah. And I'm scared of this. This is the first time I've ever flown. And I'm like, you all good, sir? And through gritted teeth, I hear, yeah, I'm fine.
We're okay.
And you're like, okay, well, we made it through that maneuver. Good thing we only have to do all of the aerobatics now. Good thing the next thing on the profile is to do a continuous 3G loop and then a barrel roll and all these other things that we have to practice, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, okay, sir, the next thing I'd planned was a loop. Like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm like, all right. So, it gains some airspeed, and I pull, and I hear the entire way around the loop. And I'm like, oh my God, I just killed this guy. And I'm like, are you sure, sir? And he's like, maybe we just shouldn't do that. We could do some more like, benign stuff. And I was like, okay. And like 5 minutes later, he's like, we got to go back. Like, this is a training flight for me. Like, it's pretty important that I complete this.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like, obviously he's hurt. So he's like, we got to go back. I was like, all right. He's like, can you take us back? And I was like, yeah. And we fly all the way back. He's grimacing the whole time. And, we land it, we get out of the aircraft. And it's not an easy plane to get like in and out of. Like, I mean, it's not crazy difficult, but you got to like climb over like the rail, and you got to open the canopy and everything. And I had to help him out, like grab his hands and help him out. And then he just like, and I had to like, because you get out on the wing and you jump down, like, it's like a 3-foot jump, but like you hop down, and I had to like hold his hand as he hopped down. And then he was like, like my stuff is still in there, because he couldn't lean over the rail to like pick his stuff up from the seat. And so I had to like get all his stuff and clean up his seat ball and everything and get back to him.
A little bit of pee on the seat.
Nah, we got back to the debrief room, and he is like in one of those like, office chairs, but just fully reclined, like all the way straight. And I was like, sir, you could lay on the ground if you need to while we debrief. And he didn't fly for 4 months after that.
Got like a neck brace walking around.
I injured him for 4 months. He just didn't fly. And you can imagine all of the jokes in my pilot training class that I broke a man's back. My flying was so bad that I physically broke a man. And, yeah.
Well,
and then the pee. There was another instructor that peed during.
He peed his pants while you were doing it?
Well, he didn't pee his pants, but there's a thing called. It's not actually called this, but we call them piddle packs.
Yeah.
And so when you're up there, you're wearing a harness, and in this particular aircraft, and like other fighter aircraft and stuff like that, you're wearing a G suit, right? If you pull G's, you have to wear a G suit, which is it's on your legs and it inflates with air.
Yeah.
And just because when you pull G's, the blood flows from your brain down.
Yeah.
And so
and it's there to help it get back up.
Yeah, it constricts your legs so the blood doesn't flow down. But there's no bathroom up there, right? There's no. Yeah. So the Air Force has things called piddle packs, and they're just like little like gel bags that you can.
And they attach to the G suit with like a G string.
No, you kind of have to like finagle your way, and you just have to like aim into the bag or like put the bag
while you're flying.
The Gatorade bottle. Yeah, while you're flying, and girls have their own system.
But do they have a different bag? They have a different piddle pack?
Same bag, but the contraption to help them.
Same bag, different method.
Yeah. And these are not super long flights, maybe 2 hours max.
Okay, so
you never need them. I never brought one. You pee before the flight and you're good.
Yeah.
And we are in formation. Okay, we are formation flying. So we're in this area. We're practicing our maneuvers. Like we're like doing aggressive stuff. And my instructor, eventually, he was a brand new instructor, like young guy, maybe a year older than me. And he was like, can you send them to route, which is a position where it's like very far back and they're just like following you. And I was like, yeah, like this doesn't really make sense for the flight, but sure. So I send them to route, and the other plane has no clue what they're doing. They're just like number 2 behind us, following whatever we want. And I was like, sir, like, why do you want me to do something? He's like, I gotta pee. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, just keep him there. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm gonna go cold mic for a second. So he turns off his intercom. And he goes cold mic. And we have like a rear view mirror. And all I see in the rear view is him just like bustling about. Like it's like if you're in a car seat, like trying to position yourself to do this. And meanwhile, he's like, yeah, just do gentle turns. And so I'm just like straight and level, like making like just really minor turns. The other aircraft has no clue what they're doing. And eventually they're like, number one, are you all good? And I was like, yeah, we're taking a pee break right now. I, I said that, and the other instructor immediately requested fingertip, which is the closest position you can get, where you're right next to the other plane. And he was like, "Oh, request fingertip," because he was like, "I want to see this happening." But it was so funny because I was like, I could start like ripping this right now. Like I could start pulling.
Oh yeah, you could just go into a dive.
Yeah. And so eventually it comes back on intercom. And I was like, "You all good, sir?" And he goes, "Yeah, you know how like it's supposed to turn it into a gelatin because there's like powder in there that's supposed to turn it into like a gel. So obviously there's not pee sloshing around." And I was like, "Oh yeah." He was like, "Doesn't do that." I was like, "You're telling me we just have like a loose bag of pee in the shared aircraft right now?" Like, and the next part, just like the backstory, the next part of the sortie or the flight is going to do loops. And like we're going upside down. And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "Are you sure you're situated back there?" And he's like, "Yep." And we get through the rest of the flight and we land and we're on the bus back to the building. And he's like, "I spilled some in my flight bag." Like in a little bag where like you carry your helmet and stuff.
John,
He's
can
like,
I tell you something? Yes.
Please.
I spilled something.
I spilled something. Yeah.
You just go,
And
I know.
I was like, I know. And it was so funny because this guy, he's a brand new instructor and he doesn't have a call sign yet. And he tells me, and he's like, he looks at me and he goes, "Don't tell anyone about this." So naturally, I
Tell everybody. Tell everybody.
I started just with my friends, and I was like, "Guys, you're not going to believe this. Lieutenant Jones, he peed in the jet." And eventually it made its way to the other instructors. And there is apparently, we call them brevity terms. So like words you just use to get a point across that everyone knows what it means.
Yeah.
And apparently we have a brevity term for I have to pee, and it's called racehorse. Like I have got to piss like a racehorse. And that is like a term that it's not an official Air Force term, but like everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And to this day, his call sign is racehorse. Because he made the vital mistake because of me. He peed in the jet, and I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And now forever that
the last thing you want to be doing when there's pee about is keeping your mouth. You got to keep the mouth shut.
Yeah. So a lot of shenanigans went up there, but that poor guy. Good guy.
Great guy. Hey, shout out to Racehorse. Shout out to Orangutan. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Potty. You probably could have used one of those up there, but
probably could have used one.
Well, John, I appreciate you doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Next time we'll talk a little bit more about flying. I wanted to know a bit more about landing a plane in the Hudson. Because I'll be honest, I was looking at it, I was like, is it technically hard? Like, is it hard on a technical level? Or is a lot of the difficulty just like the pressure of the moment?
We can take 5 minutes and unpack this. You want to?
I would like to know, like, is it, because I'm looking at it, I was like, the actual landing can't be too dissimilar from landing on a runway. And surely he, as a pilot, has trained emergency landings. And like my understanding from other people in the military is that landing in water is like one of the things you would look for in an emergency landing. And so I can't imagine it would be that technically much harder than a regular landing, but the pressure is the pressure of the moment, and oh my gosh, we have to land on water.
The pressure is immense, and so it's called ditching, is what this is called, is landing on water. Yep, and it is something you learn, and you don't necessarily practice it even in a sim.
What can you ditch on besides water?
Ditching is specifically water.
Oh, okay.
Like that is specifically over water, which it gets a lot more difficult in the ocean, right? Because you have the waves.
Right.
And so you want to land, I believe, parallel to the crests of the waves. I could be complete if anyone is a flyer and he's like, this kid's wrong.
Ro-
I gotta study some more, I suppose. But
Road horses
I'm
listen to it. He goes,
90%
that's
sure.
not right, John.
I'm 90% sure parallel with the cross, which makes sense, right? You don't want to like
Right. Yeah. I would think
the
going over when you go if you go over if you go over waves like that on a jet ski, it's not as bad.
yeah, yeah. So trying to think of it. There is a certain way. If I ever had to ditch, I would look it up in our like thing.
On
Like
the
you'd
way
have time.
down, I would get the
You basically
manual.
you would have time to do that.
Ask
But
ChatGPT, is it parallel or
yeah, on a
perpendicular?
river, obviously there's not
Hey Siri.
too many like waves.
Right.
But the pressure of that is crazy. And then what you're doing is a little different because he didn't have the gear down. And so
Right.
the landing gear adds, depends what plane you're flying, but it could add 5 feet, to the distance from your plane to the ground.
But
And
there
so
was a
you're so
timing.
used to, yeah, you're so used
Yeah.
to coming down, right? And seeing a certain sight
Interesting.
picture of I am this far apart or this far away from the ground versus when you don't have gear, right? It's an extra 5 feet to lose, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you flare and you're up and you are 5 feet higher accidentally, and then you just like drop, like you could totally like break the structure of the aircraft.
Yeah.
Um, so it is slightly different, but like the pressure of that he lost, I think both engines,
You're right.
so he had no thrust at all, and I don't know what would happen if I could do that. Probably not.
I
Great
mean,
pilot. I mean, it was just an incredible,
unbelievable maneuver. Shout out to Sully
yeah,
Sullenberg. Unbelievable
great
maneuver.
movie.
Um, but like, what can you land on for like an emergency besides water? Is there anything like you could do like a interstate?
Highways, roads. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the United States interstate system, which was built by
Ford,
Eisenhower, so close.
Ferrari.
No,
Okay.
like oh, President Eisenhower. I thought you meant
President
President.
Eisenhower.
I was going for president there. Interstate highway system was built by President Eisenhower,
Okay.
and every I don't know the exact number, but every like 5 miles or something or 10 miles, there has to be like a mile stretch that is straight, and it's
Mm.
because they designed it. If we had to go to war, like or were invaded, we can use the
Oh,
interstate highway system for planes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like I-90, all those things, they have stretches of straight interstate, so planes could land.
Can you do it on
Cool
like
run that
desert?
route.
Like if you're
Yeah,
over
once you
Africa,
once you start getting into like
like sand?
different types of fields, like it's just so unpredictable of like what the terrain is actually going to look like, right?
Yeah.
Because you could think it's flat, and then you get down there,
It's
and it's
not.
a cornfield with just holes everywhere, and all of a sudden you flip upside down. So you got to be careful with that stuff.
But
An ejection seat would be nice, but
flat is the big thing you need though.
ideally, yeah. You
Flat is
can't
the big thing.
if it's not flat, then I don't know how you're gonna do that.
Interesting. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. It's interesting that they were, I mean, it makes sense that they would prepare for an invasion. It kind of seems like crazy now to even think of that, just because
Mhm.
like a lot of people forget, like in the over the course of military history, we're one of the few countries who's had to build their military specifically to be able to deploy across the ocean very quickly.
Yeah. We
And
can get anywhere.
we can get anywhere very quickly. And
Yeah.
other countries just don't have that to the
It's
same.
remarkable when you think of it. Even like China, who's a near peer adversary, like
Yeah.
they
It's
have some places in South America and Africa that they're trying to expand their influence in. But I mean, we are all over the globe.
it's unprecedented as far as we're aware. Like I know like there is theories that there was an advanced civilization previous to us that
I
had
mean, it's similar to like the Roman Empire of
yeah,
just the expanse of how far they stretch and how much influence they have.
absolutely. And like, I'm sure we will be looked back upon in a similar way of like, people will look back on the tactics and a very
Yeah.
interesting podcast to listen to actually is Dan Carlin did it on World War II Japan. And
Mhm.
basically it was looking at how do you end up with people willing to fight a war into their 80s, even when it ended, and just
Yeah.
not stopping. And he talks about how Japan was in this position of, we don't really have a very strong military right now, and we will very like the the odds that you can resist colonization are very low. It's about as low as the odds that you're going to successfully revolt. Like a revolution, most of the time
Sure.
revolutions don't succeed. And most of the time you can't resist colonizers in the sense of like if China shows up,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
their force, like war's not much. And so they needed to raise a military very quickly. And one of their strategies was let's go around the world and see what people do well. All right, Germans engineer well, and Americans do this well, and the Brits do this well. And then we're just going to combine all of like the best into our military. But the other side of it was we're going to reinstate sort of the code and the mentality of the samurai back into our gyms and into our people. And that those combinations of things allowed them to raise a military extremely quickly and be extremely effective so that they were able to survive. And then we see obviously they fought on the wrong side of World War II. But they
I mean,
kind of
they're a remarkable, when you really look at it, a remarkable country. And
an
of course, the
unbelievable
fact that
country.
they're an island helps their geopolitical like advantage. But for a country with that's so small to have, at least geographically, to have such an influence, even to
Hmm.
this day, on world affairs.
They get, I feel like they get, people forget about them during World War II, but they were like, people think about Pearl Harbor and them getting bombed, but they don't remember like they dang near conquered most of China.
Yeah,
They were taking
yeah,
over Asia. Japan was quickly expanding. Like
yeah.
they may be a small island, like you said, but they hit
I'm,
above their weight
I'm,
class,
I'm,
and they have to.
I'm
Otherwise,
glad they're on
someone
our
else is gonna.
side now.
Yeah, yeah. Fair weather fans. Fair weather fans, those Japanese people. I
And
have a
now
Japanese friend named Yoshi from high school who is a hand model and a
I have
father.
an Italian friend named Mario.
Do you really?
No.
Oh, that would have been cool. That would have
He's a
been
hand
cool.
model.
He was a hand model, and I was like, hands can't be that different. John, not a wrinkle on his entire palm. And his the hand was beautiful. Like it really is a thing. It's sort of like athleticism. Like you don't understand it until you see it. You don't understand beauty until you see it. I remember, we'll end on this story. Did I tell you
Oh,
my flight home from Sweden after I got,
no.
so long story short, I was living with a guy in Sweden who I was also working for. And I forgot to lock the door one day and he kicked me out of the house. And I was like, fine, I want to go home anyway. I hate this country. I don't hate it, but I was like kind of at the end of wanting to be there. And
Sure.
I end up having to stay the night at my ex-girlfriend's parents' house.
I think, yeah, yep, yep.
And then the next day, my mom bought me a ticket to fly home. And um, as I get on the plane, I'm like, man, like I took this huge risk. I moved overseas. It all blew up in like 5, 6 months. It failed. I ran out of money. It turned out my guy I was living with was a criminal. Like this couldn't have gone worse. I didn't make any friends. I retained a friend, but that was about it. And I get on the plane, and the flight from where I was living to Stockholm is 1 hour. And I had to get up, I think at like 5 a.m. was the flight. I had to get up at like 3 to get on the flight. And so I'm tired. And I used to be able to do this thing where I can't really do it anymore, but I just immediately fall asleep. And
Yeah.
I get on and I close my eyes and I fall asleep and I wake up and we're in the air and we're going. And that was itself it threw me off. When I had gone to sit down,
What would you expect to happen? You were going to be on a boat?
well,
You
like when
boarded an
when you go
airplane,
to sleep
Sam.
standing still and you wake up and you're 5,000 feet in the air, you're like, oh, for a moment, right? And
You
so
thought
when
about
I had
dying.
sat
Yeah.
down, there had been people stuff in both seats, but there were
Hmm.
no people there.
Hmm.
And I was in the middle seat. And so I sit down, I fall asleep, right? I wake up and I have that moment and I go, oh, And I kind of made that noise, went, "Oh," like that. And I look around, and
Like you just popped your back when
John,
you
the
took some
two
G's.
most beautiful Swedish women you've ever seen in your life are sitting on either side of me. And I look at them and I look at both of their eyes and they're looking at me like, do you need a potty packet? You need a piss packet? Are you okay? And I was like, and they just kind of went back to the thing. And I had this moment, I'm like, I know these women. Like, I don't know how I know these women, but I know both of these women. And I'm like, how do I know these women? And I'm going through my phone and I'm trying to figure out how I know these women, but I also don't want them to see that I'm texting who are the two women sitting next to me
Yeah.
into Google. And so I'm trying to be discreet about it. I have it up here on my next to my chin and I'm going through my photos and I figured out that these two girls are models for H&M and I would walk past their faces every single day in downtown when I went past H&M and I've seen them every single day and I was like they're models for H&M and I was like Sam you have about 20 minutes where you're going to get to sit next to this is never going to happen to you again ever in your life. You have to think of something to say, but not only that, you have to overcome the fact that you went, "Oh," when you woke up. And you have to overcome that.
What did you do?
I shot a double leg.
And the instructor saw it coming.
Instructor saw it coming. They shut it down immediately. No, I I didn't know what to do, and so I was just like, you guys ever been to H&M?" And then they went like this. They went, "What was that?" They had to take it out. They went, "What was that?" And I go, H&M. H&M. Were you guys, have you been to H&M? And they go, "Oh, yes, many people in Sweden go to H&M." And I was like, "I think I recognize you from," and they were like, "Yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, that's great photo. Great photo." And they go, "Thank you." And then like
And you
every time they would answer me, they would start to put like the headphone back in and I'd have to cut in really quick before they could. So then they'd have to take it out again and answer me again. And then by the end of the flight, uh, I had sort of struck up a conversation with one of them. And I was like, "Hey, so you're going to Stockholm and then you're flying to Denmark." And as I'm like, "I'm just going home back to America." And they're like, "Oh, what were you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I was coaching some hockey and that sort of thing." And they were like, "Oh, so little backstory. The reason I got that job was because the person who had it before died
Oh
randomly,
yes, yeah, I've heard this.
randomly died. And the reason that I wasn't able to stay partly was because they didn't have money to pay me because somebody else embezzled millions of dollars
Yeah, yeah.
from the team. And
That's what you get in European.
that's what you get. And like if you steal $5 million from
Afghanistan.
pretty much 3 years Sweden, forget about it. And that sort of thing. And so it's in the news like this person has stolen all this money from the thing. And to say that I had a passing resemblance for them would not be out of the question, right? And so I'm talking to her. I'm like, "Yeah, I was working for this team, and this is the team's name, and it didn't really work out." And she was like, "Oh, what was the problem?" And I was like, Financials, you know, I don't know. It just there was, and in my head I was like, I'm gonna say the thing in the news you probably read about, like that was they didn't have enough money to pay, but I was like, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And so what I said was the financials, like, I'm sure you read the news. And then she goes, "Yeah." And then she looks at me and I can see in her eyes, she goes, "Wait a minute." Is this the guy? And I had told her I'm going back to the United States and I'm never coming back. And I think to this day, she may think that she witnessed the
You're
escape
criminal.
of a criminal.
That's incredible. And here
Well,
you sit today.
here I
free
sit
from
today,
Swedish
where I can proudly announce that it was me. I did do that. And Nana Boo Boo, you can't get me.
That's incredible.
Well, this was unbelievable. See how quickly 2 hours goes by?
Flies.
Flies right by. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.